Hello, welcome everyone. I'm here this week with William Holloway to break down the full moon in Capricorn. It's happening at about 8, 9 degrees. And I'm really excited. This is kind of an intense lunation. So I'm really glad that I brought William here to break it all down with you guys. We're going to get into the Sabian symbol in just a moment and a really interesting story that's hidden within the caverns of this particular lunation. William, how are you feeling about it?
I have mixed feelings about this one.
Yeah. I feel like as a pretty Saturnine person, I'm excited because I love consequences. And that seems to be the theme here. I'm going to put the chart on the screen, guys. So let's break it all down. Let's see where we go. Just a moment. Yeah, this is hitting my prenatal eclipse, so it'll be exciting. It feels like an important time.
Yeah.
So we have a full moon in Capricorn, and the Sabian symbol is an albatross feeding from the hand of a sailor. And when we look at what Linda Hill, the Australian genius astrologer, has to say about this, she writes that this degree shows the overcoming of fears, superstitions, and limiting thoughts. One of the ways of overcoming fears is through gentleness and a readiness to let down your guard and interact with people or animals without feeling afraid or vulnerable. Putting up a wall between you and other living things can cause alienation or the loss of the rewards that can come from truly relating. Even seemingly natural enemies can realize the possibility of interaction, and letting go of fear may be necessary. You may feel that you can deal with someone with whom you have usually kept your distance, possibly even help each other. Interesting. Feeding one's higher nature with good nourishment, banishing worries so that one can fly even higher, empathy and sympathy, the ancient mariner story. I want to bookmark that, and overcoming fears. And what we should watch out for is manipulating events or people, false nourishment, superstitious beliefs that keep one stuck, fear of things like snakes and spiders or other living things, and dependence. So the ancient mariner story, I think, is interesting. This refers to the poem of The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which was first published in 1798. It's one of the most famous poems in English literature, and at its heart, it's a story about guilt and consequences, learning to respect the natural world. The story actually begins with an old sailor, the ancient mariner, of course, and he is stopping a wedding guest and insisting on telling him a strange tale. Years earlier, while at sea, the mariner shot and killed an albatross, a bird that had been considered a good omen by the crew. After he kills it, everything begins to go wrong. The ship becomes trapped on a windless ocean. The crew suffers from thirst and despair. Eventually, all of the sailors die, leaving the mariner alone with his guilt. So, one of the most famous images from this poem is the dead albatross being hung around his neck. That's where the expression an albatross around your neck comes from, actually. A burden of guilt
Okay.
or a mistake that follows you everywhere. The turning point comes when the mariner finally feels genuine love and appreciation for the sea creatures around him. And in that moment, the curse begins to lift. He is eventually rescued, but part of his punishment and redemption is that he must wander the earth telling others his story. So the poem ends with the central lesson: He prayeth best who loveth best, all things great and small. I think that's such an interesting story. What are your thoughts on that, William? That's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I hadn't heard that one. I hadn't heard about I wasn't familiar with the Sabian symbol of that one, but I love it.
Yeah, and I feel like that ties into the aspects so well. We have a lot of
Hmm.
interesting aspects in this lunation. We have a T square with Neptune, the sun, and the moon. We have the beginning of a Mercury retrograde in Cancer, but it's conjunct Jupiter. And then we have Mars in a conjunction to Uranus, an aspect I know really well. I always say it's a bit of a New Yorker aspect because both of my parents had it. My sister, they're all New Yorker. It's very like in your face, very entrepreneurial. I'll do it myself, but it also can be very accident prone.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
So, what are your thoughts when you look at this chart? What are you thinking is might be coming up for some people with the Sabian symbol, with the aspects? Also, I want to add, Chiron will have just moved into Taurus as well.
Right, right. Well, actually, I'm glad you said that because I think that Chiron going in to going into Taurus, kind of mirrors a little bit what I think this full moon in Capricorn might be for some people. I think there's a story about practical matters, things that are, your resources, the things you have, um, appreciation for what you have, but also this kind of like work versus home, like, yeah, this kind of like work versus home. Uh, Maybe that's not the way I want to say it. Not work versus home, but
Maybe like the way in which we take on our divine masculine energy, the responsibilities in our lives that we have to look out for, versus our sense maybe of safety and home within
yes.
ourselves, or maybe this is physical safety. Maybe this is about safety in the workplace. Maybe this is about safety and boundaries in your home life. Maybe this is in your family life. Maybe, the moon can also represent our home, our family, and physically like creating like a boundary, like and what the rules are and what the regulations are. Mercury and being retrograde during this time, especially conjunct Jupiter, it's we're reevaluating something. There's something that we have to like look back upon. And I'm also just thinking about this Neptune T square, and I'm also like maybe we're having to look through it through a new lens, or maybe the way in which we saw something was perverted in some way, right? Like, and now we're being forced to see it maybe through something that happens that's accidental, maybe something that's unexpected. That's the Mars Uranus of it all. um, it feels like repercussions. It feels like a lot of guilt. It feels like repercussions. It feels like consequences for our actions, maybe coming in an unexpected way to me.
No, that's great. No, yeah, I agree with all of that.
Mercury retrograde conjunct Jupiter. I feel like the emotions are going to be high in Cancer. Cancer is the emotional world. We might feel confused about something. We might, this could be a situation of natural law. We've been seeing a lot of like rain recently here. We just had two tornadoes in Chicago. And so
Right. Yeah.
literally, we're having a lot of flooding here, and it was unexpected. So I'm also just wondering if there's some sort of unexpected event that is either physically flooding us or mentally flooding us in some way.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was start heading was like weather related, like things that maybe we didn't appreciate before until they're gone.
Hmm.
Um, and that could be related to home, to our country, to the group of people, with that Jupiter Mercury conjunction, especially with Mercury being retrograde, it's like that reevaluation of like whose family, who do I trust, boundaries around all that stuff. But then there does feel like I could totally see like once something, that whole thing of like not really appreciating something until it's gone. And I know that sounds
Yeah.
vague, but it's a little too soon to know what that could be. It's so close to the 4th of July, so it's going to be eventful because we know the 4th of July
Yeah.
is eventful.
I also can't help but wonder if this is like a big movement of people coming together for maybe a new re envisioning of something. We have power. in numbers. And when we come together, Uranus is groups of people. So I'm imagining people coming together to fight for something, or and maybe this is something we are being forced to. We saw it one way before, and now we're being forced to see it in a new way. I also just think about like the fact that Mars has been ruling Chiron for so long. So we've been seeing, like, for example, the dark side of like the divine masculine, like, like the entitlement, and people are just kind of over it, I feel like. And it's like, if you're not evolving, then like we're not even paying attention anymore in a way. Like, it's just like, okay, grandpa, you
Yeah.
know, move into the future. And
Yeah.
I think with
Especially Capricorn. Come on, I always think of a grandpa with Capricorn.
old man yells at the sky. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it feels a little bit like with Chiron moving into Taurus, it's kind of looking at the well, first of all, Taurus is a more feminine sign. It rules Venus, our values, women in our lives. And I think that this is going to point out the same way that, Mars in, or I'm sorry, Chiron in Aries kind of pointed out this like toxic masculinity issue. I think that we're going to be looking now a little bit more at the toxic femininity issue. Maybe that looks like, I don't know, women who are very male centered. The women that like protect abusers, for example, or
Mm.
that just don't align themselves to support other women, really, right?
Yeah. Oh,
that could
yeah.
be, that could be something that's getting pointed out right now too. There's a chance for some level of like emotional growth, but it's gonna come at you by surprise. So it sort of feels like something unexpected kind of falling into our laps, but they're consequences of maybe very old actions, and we're gonna have to take a look at them through a new lens. We're kind of being forced to maybe look at them through a new lens.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think it's important to point out that Jupiter will be going into Leo the next day, right?
Yeah.
Right
So it's
after?
at
Yeah.
the very last degree. So it's had enough.
It's had enough. It's done. It's good deeds for the next 12 years.
Yeah, it also feels like if you have like planets at that middle degree of Libra, I would really pay attention because the T square sort of pointed at you. And so if, Libra friends, or especially Libra rising friends, or if you have planets, especially personal planets at like these degrees, there's something kind of coming at you where you might be the one pointing the finger, right? Or you might be the solution, to the ongoing problem.
Yeah.
Okay, before we dive into horoscopes, is there anything else you wanted to share about the aspects or your thoughts?
Hmm. Well, yeah, I'm just going to be really curious to see what the last moment of Jupiter in Cancer being conjunct Mercury retrograde, like what's that going to be saying? What's that going to be
Yeah.
speaking to? Um,
I'm also just thinking because it's, pointed at that Libra degree, the opposing degree of the apex, um, it will be squaring the Pluto for many people who were born in the like very early 80s. So this might be
hmm,
an activation point if you were born in like 81, 82, 83, because you'll have your Pluto at 29 degrees, right, of Libra. So like that makes me ask, if you were born in those years, what is really pissing you off right now? What are you absolutely done with? Your Pluto square really kind of highlighted that, getting rid of the attachments that are no longer needed, the bullshit that is no longer needed. For a lot of Pluto and Libra people, that could be, gender roles, that could be, how you're expected to age,
yeah.
values around women, values around women's rights and our bodies and our bodily autonomy, right? So I wonder if there's also some sort of activation happening for that generation with this degree too.
Yeah. Something in regards to the imbalance of power that maybe people are fed up with. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I heard somebody today. I can't remember who it was, basically saying that, where's the counter protest to this? Where are the counter protests to that? I think there's a lot of fatigue.
Hmm.
But I feel like we're approaching a new chapter
Hmm.
of, you know, resistance. What does that look like? And I hope that, when Jupiter's in Leo, we get a more fire energy in that area of people coming together and less staying in each other's corners, and not doing anything about it unless it affects you, which can be very Cancer.
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting the feeling there could be a lot of anxiety during this 2 week period. Neptune often will bring up our anxiety. That's like a simple way of Neptune presenting itself because it's all the different things that your mind goes off and wanders and thinks about what could potentially freaking happen. And before we know it, we're just like lost in that confusion and we're not really sure where it's coming from. So I think that could be also kind of a little bit of a theme during this 2 week period as well.
Right. And you want to be careful to not make decisions based on fear.
Yeah. I think if I think it would be good to examine where you feel guilty about things, where we need to take responsibility for something. If we've been putting off taking responsibility, really having to deal with like what's buried underneath that. Is it shame? Is it disgust? Is it, contempt? And really kind of looking at that because we just did a panel on Jupiter into Leo recently. We talked a lot about how it's going to bring out, the big egos, right? And
Mm.
the one of the best ways to kind of work on that is to do some inner child work and look at like, when was the first time you felt that way? When was the last time you felt that way? And like, what do these things have in common? How are you being triggered? And how can we rewire our neural pathways to do something kind of differently and evolve, right? And so I think this could be like the beginning of that moment where it maybe for some people it's hitting them out of nowhere, like the aha moment, right? Like, oh, I got to change this thing because this is a me problem. I the whole time I thought it was a them problem, but it's maybe more of a me problem.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's dive into it. Aries rising, guys. So this is happening in very public houses. This is happening between houses 4 and houses 10. So there's something happening at the very roots of where you're headed and where you've been. So I wonder if this is something having to do with past conditioning and, maybe coming into some sort of equilibrium about where you're headed in the future and rethinking things in some capacity, where you want to go, what makes you feel safe. um, I also wonder, if you have like a parent in your life, if there's something going on in a parent's life where maybe they're feeling a lot of guilt or they're feeling a lot of worry, they're feeling a lot of confusion about the past and they're being forced to maybe open up in a new way. Maybe they're having a spiritual awakening. Maybe they're just having their own, maybe it's more mundane than that. Maybe they're just having a lot of anxiety. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, all of that. And I also just think because it's the 10th and the 4th, Aries risings might be feeling a conflict between work and home or public life and private life, or something pulling you out of one or the other. Um, you know, in the
Yeah,
fourth house, there could be like something going on with like housework or construction in your home. Could be
yeah.
really, yeah.
I would keep an eye out for, especially with Mars conjunct Uranus, where the unexpected events, guys, like they're coming in through that third house. So it's like your neighbors. So maybe this is like meeting an unconventional neighbor or having to look at things or through like an unconventional lens or literally having to take action for the community or for others on behalf of a parent or a home situation. Maybe someone's joining the homeowners association and like getting active there or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Taking it down.
Yeah, damn the man, save the
Yeah.
empire or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have any pieces of advice? What would, if you have an Aries rising client, what would you say is your action step for this 2 week period?
I would say just be mindful of where you're being pulled. If you need to be home, if you can be home and you can be, be in uh let me backtrack. If you can like find a way to like be not spread thin or feel like your boundaries are being violated at home or at work,
Mhm.
be mindful of that. You might see some nice stuff popping up in your work or public life. So keep your eye out for that. But I would say the major thing would be boundaries at home or at work.
I feel like this would be a really great time to do some spiritual baths, or get yourself into water and just like clearing some of the energy, especially when it comes to like other people's crap, right? Like that would be a wonderful way to utilize, or even just going to like the pool or the lake or being around a body of water with the Neptune action could be really cathartic, very healing during this 2 week period. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe take a walk around your neighborhood. You might see some wild stuff popping off.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe also watch out, like if there is some weather stuff happening, making sure that you have something, your things backed up, like an earthquake box, like or if you have like a box for where all your important documents are, especially because it's a Mercury retrograde. This is like a good time to back all those things up, just in
Yeah,
case. Because we
definitely.
could see some weather stuff start to flare up.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that those are things to think about for Aries rising. I'm gonna let you handle your Taurus rising. So why don't you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about what's going on with you and what you can anticipate with these energies?
Yeah, well, so this is for Taurus rising. This will be happening in your third and ninth house. So things related to your neighborhood, travel, maybe you are learning a new skill. Maybe you're teaching yourself something. I think of third house, like learning Duolingo or, something like you're taking on a new thing. You're learning a new subject. Ninth house, maybe something related to religion, maybe something related to your church or university. Maybe you'll be traveling. Maybe, if you have kids, and they are in school, they are in college, they're coming home for the summer. There might be, themes around that. Maybe you're going somewhere with loved ones, taking a trip somewhere.
Yeah. What's been coming up for you personally?
Well, let me think. In terms of my third, ninth house,
Yes.
well, there's been a lot of, my car's been a big, driving has been a very important subject because of the price of gas and having to drive into the office or having to be mindful of like, do I need to go in right now? Because it's really expensive. But then on the other hand, like it's nice to get out of the house and see people and, so there have been themes around that. I did travel, to the East Coast, went to some places and went and visited friends. Um, yeah, so there's definitely been a lot of travel and getting around. I've been reading a lot. I'm reading like several books at the same time.
Hmm.
Um,
I wonder if there's something too that's coming up in terms of, because you have Mars Uranus in your second house with this lunation. I'm also wondering if there's something in terms of um like your values, like getting fired up about your values with the people in your life, your neighbors, getting called
yeah.
into action in some way to really kind of maybe reevaluate in some way the agreements perhaps of what's around you, how we can pull our resources together, how we can be helpful together, how we can fight for each other as well. Again, this seems like a really good lunation for that. Like, do you ever talk to your neighbors? Are you friendly with your neighbors? Or do you know the people in your neighborhood, as Fred
Not
Rogers would
really.
say?
I really don't. My partner knows them, but I don't really know them. No, I don't really know my neighbors.
It's a good opportunity for that, like really kind of
Yeah.
getting together and realizing like if there's if there's construction going on that's super annoying. Like right now we have in our building, I'm a tourist midheaven, but we have like a petition about like traffic. They're trying
Mm,
to like figure out a way to get like less noise with the highway or something. And so all the neighbors have been getting together and signing this petition for that, which I just think is so on point.
I love that. Oh,
Yeah.
we did meet a neighbor, not a next door neighbor, but someone in town recently, a new friend. So we have like kind of a new friend with a farm. And so that's kind of a big deal because we live out in the middle of nowhere.
Mhm.
So that's very third house.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So, what would be your one piece of advice for Taurus rising before we move on?
I would say uh be careful in your commute. Maybe be anticipate, especially because Mercury retrograde will be occurring. Be mindful that maybe some changes need to happen in your commute. Be mindful when you're traveling, um, or maybe a unexpected trip comes up. And then with, Uranus and Mars in the second house, I love your idea of, reevaluating values or values, acting on something because of your values. But then also just like finances, like maybe an unexpected expense pops up, or maybe you invest in something. Maybe now is the time to move forward with something in when it comes to finances. So
Yeah, I like that. All right, so Gemini rising, this is a little bit about you because you have Mars and Uranus in your first house. So, like, what are you taking action on? What are you doing differently during this 2 week period? It feels like either you could be joining a group of people, maybe you're getting active. Like, this is really good for like maybe a workout class. I would say be a little careful that you don't twist your ankle or something with the Uranus in it and the Mercury retrograde of it all. But I wonder if there's some sort of group project that maybe you're coming together to like take action on during this period of time. Um, I also kind of just wonder if, especially because like this is, you guys have had a lot of energy changing in that first house. Like redefining your role, and you've probably been thinking about this for the last couple of weeks since Uranus has dipped into Gemini. And I'm almost wondering, like, if this is like the time to really to make that severance, to make that cut, to go after the thing that you desire in a brand new way. Maybe that's online dating for some of you. That it could be a really good transit for that if you're single. If you're not, maybe this is like pursuing a new friendship, or maybe this is being asked to fight on behalf of a friend or someone that you care about or a sibling. I'd watch out for kind of if you have already a lot of dysfunction in the household a little bit. This could be like a sibling argument that was kind of a little unexpected, but otherwise, maybe you're fighting on behalf of the sibling. I'd also be a little bit careful while you're driving because this could be a textbook. Ooh, I didn't see that coming. I was texting and driving, and oh no, I just fucking got side reared.
yeah, totally. Um, yeah, and also I think like the Gemini risings, I'm curious. I mean, I know some Gemini risings that this is happening with, but I'm just curious the different levels and different topics. But I think that a lot of Gemini risings are like finding or starting to find a new purpose or new drive towards something, or like feeling finally it's time to move forward with something that maybe other people wouldn't expect. Um, maybe seems like it's coming out of left field. Um,
Yeah.
And I think that when it comes to the full moon, um, joint finances, maybe like, yeah, go purchasing something together with your partner or, you know, something if you're in business with somebody else, making some kind of move.
Yeah. I think it could be also really like watch out for like also because this is happening in your eighth house. I'm also just wondering like if there's some sort of fear that you're being asked to face during this 2 week period or paying off a debt or like getting to the root of I'm almost thinking like shadow work. You know what I mean? Like you get into an unexpected event, fight, whatever it might be, an unexpected conversation. You're start or guilt is starting to come up about something from the past or and instead of letting it simmer in that shame or worry, it's a good time to have the conversation that's hard to have, the scary one to have and just try contrary action and be like, in the past I've handled this in X, Y, and Z, but I recognize that maybe this is coming from an old story that I've told myself, and I'm ready to outlive that story and do something differently. I also just think if you've been wanting to get back into therapy, get back into shadow work, this is a wonderful time to do that. And you could just sit and like pull some cards the night of the full moon and just be like, what does spirit want me to work on? What am I not seeing? What are my blind spots? Just call yourself out a little bit, do some journaling. Because I think that there can be some heavy stuff that's coming up. And maybe we are being asked to like face something that has been difficult. I recently had a full moon in my eighth house, and what came up for me really was having to go to the dentist. And I've always been scared to go to the dentist. And so maybe it's something kind of innocuous. I'm not saying it's like, death but it's probably not we don't have a lot of Pluto stuff going on this week, but, but, maybe there's just something that you've been fearful about sharing that's emotional, that's weighty, that has a lot to do with the past, And this could be a wonderful time to just kind of face it head on. Maybe this is just also it's just very mundane. This could be just like paying off a credit card bill
Oh yeah.
and just like realizing I want to be financially free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I could see that. I know some Gemini risings that maybe you've been working on paying something off and you finally get there at this point.
for sure. Or like putting yourself out there to online date if you're like a single Gemini rising and realizing, oh, I've been scared to do this because it's hard to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
or even just like even if you're single, like maybe this is sharing your work online more comfortably or asking friends to hey, I've been working on this art project. I've been doing this project. Can you help support me? Like, can you share my work? Like, don't be afraid to do that. Reach out for help, reach out for group support because it's there during this 2 week period. The group wants to help you.
Yep.
Okay. Cancer rising. So this is a pretty big one for you guys. This is happening in your seventh house. So it's happening between the first and the seventh. What are your thoughts on Cancer rising and some of the stuff that could be coming up? The relationship stuff, commitment stuff.
Yeah, relationship stuff, commitment stuff, very personal things. Um, stuff where you're the main character or you and your partner are the main character. Um, and yeah,
I
the,
wonder if the albatross, like maybe Cancer
the
rising is feeling a little guilty about something.
yeah. Well, that wouldn't be that far out there for Cancer to feel guilty about something. Feeling the things.
Maybe you're
Um,
being asked to take responsibility for something or someone.
yeah, that's the thing. Maybe, yeah, there's like a new responsibility when it comes to someone in your life. Maybe financial, maybe, now all of a sudden, maybe your partner lost their job and you have to like start paying more, or, I don't want to say that anybody's partner's going to lose their job, but, but that kind of thing. taking on a new responsibility. I could see, that. But again, boundaries, is this appropriate? Like, are you the person for the task? You
Yeah.
know, don't do something if you can't do it, if you can't physically do it, but don't take on too much. Don't be a martyr.
Yeah. I also just wonder if like relationships feel a little unclear right now, like who's on your side, who's not on your side, who's supporting you, who's not. I could see the Neptune of it all just getting in your head, thinking like a friend is like mad at you when they're not, maybe they're just off doing their own thing. So it could be a good time to just kind of check in and touch base and have those hard conversations like, yo, do you have a problem with me? Like, or like, I've noticed you've been absent for a while, like you haven't been liking my posts or something like that?
Yeah, totally.
I think that that's kind of what Cancer might be dealing with. Or, yeah. But I guess my piece of advice would be this is a good time to have the hard conversation about how you feel and just kind of touch base. And I know it's not easy, but there is movement there to move forward with Mars and Uranus connected. So, try not to be stubbornly stuck in the past. Try to put your best foot forward.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Leo risings. This is kind of a tricky access too. We have like our 12th, sixth house access. So this makes me wonder, maybe this is something having to do with your health or your habits or your work life in some way, the mundane things that we have to do every day. And I wonder if there's maybe some big feelings coming up in terms of these areas. Maybe you're noticing how your emotional health is really connected to your physical health in some way and having to make some changes there. Do you have a lot of Leo risings in your practice?
Yeah, I do. And I have a lot of Leo rising friends. And I would say a theme I've been seeing with a lot of Leo risings is like maybe being a little overwhelmed with all their responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this and doing something that's usually more Cancer rising, which is saying yes to things when maybe they don't really have the bandwidth.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why did I say yes to this? Is very much a theme I'm seeing with some Leo risings. And I also just wonder, like, pets, pets
Mm.
involved. I know a Leo rising who's been pet sitting somebody for a while, and it's been like kind of taking over their life. They're like, why did I say yes to this? Kind of thing. So,
Naughty kitty.
naughty kitty.
I also thinking like with Mars and Uranus in the 11th house, Leo risings, obviously you guys are here to take leadership roles in the community. And so I wonder if this is also just like getting together with friends and neighbors. Again, maybe you are the leader of your homeowners association or
Yeah.
something like or like there's something going on in the neighborhood that you got to take action on. Maybe it's something more fun. Maybe it's a book club. Maybe you're reading a book that's really firing you up right now, and it's good to have like conversations about the past and your conditioning and safety. I just kind of feel like these are kind of the issues that are maybe coming up, or maybe you're being forced to see something in a brand new light from someone else's
Mhm.
perspective, and it's causing you to maybe have to change your habits, the way you do things, um, your mindset in some way, your subconscious, you know?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
Do you have
Totally.
an action step? I said well, mine would probably be like get up and get active in your community.
Yeah, and I'll go back to don't be try not to be a martyr. If you find yourself like overwhelmed with responsibilities because you maybe said yes to something you knew you couldn't really handle.
Mm-hmm.
So just be mindful to not take on too much, because you can be your own worst enemy.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, so we're at Virgo rising. That is me. I'm a Virgo rising. And so
Okay.
this is happening in house 5 and house 11. And house 5 really speaks to our inner child. And this is also, like uh our physical babies, like as well as our mental babies. So like if you have a business or um, sorry, if you have a business or if you have like I'm an astrologer, so like my business obviously gets really affected by my fifth house presence. And it's also my online presence in a lot of ways. So but this is pleasure, this is dating, this is how you express yourself. So we have a culmination here, and I feel like there's something here that needs to be said. Like Virgo risings are known for our voice and how we think, and so I feel like this is really you having a come to Jesus moment with somebody, maybe having to tell someone off or tell someone how you feel, or expressing yourself in some way that maybe gets you a little bit out of your comfort zone in some way. I also just wonder with Mars and Uranus, just sitting there like in the 10th house, if you're fired up about something, there's something that is making you really passionate. If there's other people who can be really beneficial allies to you in this moment with whatever you need to convey.
Yes. Yes, your allies. Yeah, I was thinking, like when you were talking about mental babies, I was thinking about, when you're an artist, like Tori Amos thinks of her songs are her children,
Yes.
it's like very fifth house. And then I think the 11th house can be your audience, or it's like the fifth house is creating and creation, the act of creating and all that stuff. And then the 11th house is when you take your work out to see, to a show, to perform, or the gallery, or something like that. So I wonder if, and then with that, with the Mars Uranus conjunction in Gemini, like maybe it's like someone getting discovered, or like getting a new audience, or a new fan, or someone buys your stuff, or maybe being noticed for the things you're doing in the community.
Yeah, I like that. That's definitely been, my webpage has been kind of blowing up lately. I can't complain. And
Awesome.
what's been very affirming is just to be able to do these mini readings for people who are very new to astrology, and people who've never had a reading before. And they I know nothing about them but a username a lot of times, and they're just like, wow, and they're having their own spiritual epiphany. So I think that maybe a call to action, like maybe you're being asked to convey your talents in some way. And finally, we haven't had it easy, especially with these eclipses happening. So it's just like, I'm for it.
Me too.
All right, Libra rising. What are your thoughts?
All right. So Libra rising. This is happening in your 10th and fourth house. So, the opposite of Aries. So, I think this is going to be, that push and pull of home and public life again. I think that, there could be um, stuff going on at work, that maybe you're getting recognized at work for something you've done. Maybe a raise is coming, or some kind of recognition, um, or, something that's related to home, stuff going on at home, new projects at home. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm thinking like I feel like if again, if family stuff has been eating up at you, or finding a sense of safety, or um just like I have a Libra rising friend, and she has a hard time sometimes getting out of her shell and being vulnerable with people and trusting people because she's been burned so much. And we've been having all these really great heart to hearts lately. And so I feel like there's a potential here too, not just like in terms of our physical home, but who is our family? Who are the friends in our lives that create a sense of safety and help us to feel vulnerable in a way that allows us to finally heal that inner child in some way. I also can't help but think we have Mars and Uranus in the ninth house. So this is a great time to be practicing any sort of like spirituality. Like maybe this is a good time to do some spell work, set some intentions, especially in terms of what you want to cut out of your life, like what no longer is working for you, false beliefs. One of the things my Libra rising friend and I are working on is her scarcity mentality that comes from her family of origin. Always just living in fear, having to work really hard, to the point of burnout, and being neurodivergent, not easy stuff. And so we've been really working together to create new affirmations, new ways of thinking about money, beliefs about money, and really getting out of that familial conditioning.
I love
But,
that.
that could be other beliefs. I mean, look at where you are holding self-limiting beliefs and really make a plan of action to begin to change your mindset. I've been loving subliminal work, like again, that fits really into like Mars and Uranus in the ninth house, is like sitting, uh you don't even have to like spend time doing it. It's not like it's actual work. You're just literally sleeping to subliminals. It's doing the work for you while you rest. So I love
Yeah,
that idea. So maybe my go-to is like doing some subliminal work, some hypnosis work, some meditation work, some spiritual work around those limiting beliefs.
totally. Yeah, and things that maybe feel, things that add to your foundational or like your core, things you want to maybe add to your, well, not routine, but can't think of the word, that your agenda. That's not the word.
Yeah.
I can't quite get the word I was trying to find, but
Isn't it funny? We're both like in the midst of a Mercury retrograde and we're both struggling to speak today.
oh my God, yeah. Well, I've spoken a lot today, so I think that's part of it.
I apologize for you're so
Oh,
popular.
oh no, it's not like I've been like doing podcasts all day. I mean, I did do one podcast, but I also was working and I was so just a lot of talking.
Talkie, 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 talkie. All right. Well, we're halfway there, my friend. Let's go into Scorpio rising. What are your thoughts on Scorpio? I'm assuming you have a lot of Scorpio risings in your life.
I sure do. I sure do. So Scorpio rising, this is happening in your third and ninth house. So, I think, we're back to commute and your neighborhood and your neighbors and you know, extended family, maybe visiting, because the ninth house is going to be activated here. Maybe visiting family far away. Maybe this is also, related to having the kids come home from college, or maybe well, maybe are we past time where kids are already, if you're going to college, you probably have it picked out already, right? Like they're not doing that. This is not the season. We're out of that season, right? College
Mhm.
shopping or whatever it is.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of Scorpio risings lately that want to quit their jobs and are kind of just like sick of their day to day. Like they're on the precipice of a brand new solar eclipse in the 10th house next month. So I feel like there's a lot of things that are kind of wrapping up for Scorpio rising too. So I would say with especially with Mars and Uranus being in that eighth house, like looking at your debts, looking at the shit you don't want to deal with, and like realizing what can be finally cut.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm having a choking attack if you want to take this
Oh
for a
no.
second.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, so for sure. Okay, so then other things I would say for Scorpio rising. So you've got the Mars Uranus conjunction in your eighth house. So, um, this could be like a new, maybe a new partnership or a new uh financial endeavor or a new business. You might be like wanting to start a new, maybe you hate your job and you're starting a new side gig that you hope will eventually become the main gig. Um, or you're like looking around, you're searching, you're like, what do I want? Maybe there's some like research involved, some reading involved. um, kind of figuring out what your options are.
Yeah. I think a lot of things are about to change for our Scorpio rising friends. They're about to move into some sort of new job situation or new title or some way in which they can really shine their light, whether it's like a creative project, whatever it is. They're about to be able to like really come into this moment of pure self expression. So I would encourage you to like maybe if you have a guitar, pick up your guitar. If you have a journal, pick up a pen and start writing. This is a good one to feel like a some sort of channeled message, coming through you, something that maybe has been inside you for a while that needed to be shared.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, write everything down right now. Now's a good, if you're feeling like, especially when it comes to your job or direction, this is a good time to write down the pros and cons of whatever decision it is you're trying to make. It'll help.
Yeah.
It'll help you figure it out.
Yeah, I think that, Mercury retrograde's a great time for that, or revisiting old work that you shoved away, sometimes
Mhm.
poems. For me, I write a lot of poetry, so like something will start off and I don't know where it goes and I have to put it aside for a while and or I get little verses and finally they get put together and they get made into a song or something, right? So
Ooh,
it's
that
a good time
reminds
to
me of the
revisit
dream.
those things.
Yeah. That reminds me of the dream I had last night. It just popped in my mind.
Ooh, very Neptune.
Yeah.
What was your dream?
Oh, I was trying to write a song. I had like all these different pieces of songs from over the years, and I was trying to put them together, and then somebody was going to perform it, and I wasn't sure who it was going to be, and it ended up being Sarah McLachlan. I was like, that's
Whoa!
and I was like, oh, it'll do, I guess. But I really wanted somebody else. I think I wanted PJ Harvey to sing it, and so
That would
not
have
the
been
same.
cool. Not the same. One
Not the same.
sings about dogs that we need to save, and the
Yeah.
other wants to make a dog out of you.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so Sagittarius rising. Ooh, what's going on for Sag friends? What are your thoughts on Sagittarius rising? What do you think can be coming up for them? I feel like this is maybe a little financial.
Yeah,
Um, maybe also, I wonder if your connections with other people are also a part of this story. Like, maybe there's someone challenging you a little bit and you're like, I'm almost imagining Sag Rising like wants to fucking quit their job because somebody's fucking being an asshole at work or something.
totally. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Uh, uh, difficulty with others, conflict with others, but or maybe breaking apart from a relationship with somebody, whether it's romantic, business, friendship, someone you maybe had some kind of financial tie to. Maybe you don't want that anymore, doing something about it, or something doing it for you.
Yeah. Do you have an action step for Sag Rising?
Yeah, I would just say watch your finances, be mindful of the conflicts arising with others, and try not to do anything rash. Or if they do something rash, be the rational person of the two of you.
Yeah. I almost feel like this is could be conflict with a friend over some money stuff, or maybe conflict with a friend over values-based things, just having very different values. But I could see some of that kind of issue, or like um, if you are looking for a new job or if you are looking for a new source of revenue, maybe friends are the people that are going to direct your community, tap into community because I think community is going to hold the key to the answers. This is great for like networking. Maybe somebody needs somebody to help clean their house or babysit their kid, or maybe there's a neighbor that could use a little help cleaning out a closet and they're going to give you all the stuff that you can put on Depop or something like that. That could be a very helpful tool.
Totally.
All right, Capricorn rising. You're the main character. What are your thoughts on Cap rising?
Again, you're the main, like you said, you're the main character. Uh, this is going to be stuff coming up with boundaries, with others, um, relationships you have with others, relationships you have with others that might affect your routine or your um, you know, talking about responsibilities and what's the oh my God, the word I just said it earlier. Uh, when you're helping other people, you're oh my God. It passed. It's okay. But with your responsibility for others or feeling responsible for others or duties that are involve other people, maybe a change in a relationship will affect a routine change.
Yeah, I could see something like that. I'd watch out for disputes in the workplace,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to anything around like safety of the people around you or families or things that are traditional. If you're like, it's a bad example because they're probably not going to be on my Astro School. But if you have a Capricorn rising in your life and they are like a traditional man or something like that, yeah, you're going to get your ass checked. This feels like a verbal dispute.
Horrible dispute. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd watch out for that. I'd watch out for like fights with a neighbor, fights with friends over something like that. Or a coworker could be a thing too. Um,
Coworker. Maybe someone that you don't normally communicate with. It's kind of like they all of a sudden kind of pop up out of nowhere.
you're
Or-
retrograde.
yeah, like they were
Surprise.
always there, but you didn't know, like, oh, I didn't know I work with this person, or you know.
Yeah. Maybe things are coming up from the past too. Like you're just thinking about things from the past and maybe feeling guilty or you just want to settle something. This would be a good time to do that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
So Aquarius rising. What are your thoughts on Aquarius rising?
So
I don't have
queer.
many Aquarius risings, believe it or not.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm convinced they're the least popular rising sign, but I'm not sure if
They
that's
would
true or
love
not.
that.
Yeah, it makes sense. It would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
That they'd be the rarest of the rising signs.
of course.
Yeah.
So I feel
So
like
this
this is
is
not an easy access.
right, right, right. Makes sense. So this is happening in your sixth and 12th house. So again, routines, obligations, that was the word I was looking for earlier. Obligations, when you have obligations to others. But so yeah, obligations, things related to your pets and animals, um, things that are happening behind the scenes, there might be a sense of wanting to kind of hide away from the world a little bit at this moment, or like it might even be beneficial to kind of find yourself in like a solitary state if you can. Um, yeah,
I feel like this is a good time to just relax and decompress and focus around your health and not so much on your outer world right now. Like if you're feeling just exhausted, that's okay. Take this time to just take care of your body, you know?
yeah. And by doing that, some creative stuff might come up and you might decide to do some artwork or, maybe if you are an artist and you've been not productive, maybe like this is a good time to like kind of get yourself geared up to be productive and do something that you enjoy, something artistic that you enjoy, or just doing something that you enjoy.
Absolutely. All right, we've made it to Pisces. What are your thoughts on Pisces?
Well, so that's in the fifth and 11th, right?
Yes.
Okay. Fifth and 11th.
Sorry, I took it
Uh,
off the screen. I apologize.
oh, no, that's okay. I should know this. I shouldn't need the screen at this point. Um, but yeah, so this is in your fifth and 11th house. So we're back to like creative projects, and things that you enjoy doing. Uh, if you're an artist, I always go there, but like creation or even like hobbies, like games, maybe like something to do with games.
Yeah.
But then, then that 11th house, your audience again. So benefactors.
Yeah. I feel like I this is a great time to revisit an old hobby with friends. Like it's perfect for like a game night, getting together with, people you haven't seen in a while. Maybe that's going to a trivia night. Maybe that is, just going bowling, just doing something a little competitive, a little competitive fun. I think if things need to be revisited in your friendships and you need to express something to someone, that you've been putting off for a long time, this could be a good time. I'd watch out for some verbal spats, especially with the Mars Uranus of it all. But or getting on into online disputes could be something too. So watch out for that. Watch out for,
Yeah.
especially because it's Mercury retrograde, and that's when the trolls come out. Oh, I don't know if
Yeah.
you have the issue or not, but it's always like astrology isn't real, like or like science is better than Hellenistic astrology. Just like, why do you have to be rude? Like,
Yeah.
watch out for that. But I do think it's a good time to revisit an old hobby, to get together with people you haven't seen in a while. And if there is something that needs to be communicated, if you've been feeling guilty that, like, you haven't connected with certain people, maybe work has been eating you up, you've been very busy. This is a good time to have that conversation, connect with people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the advice. Connect with people and um, you know,
I just had a Pisces rising client who is an artist, and she's been really focused on other avenues of her career. And she's going back to songwriting and playing live again, which will be really cool. So, like, I'm sure she will have like a lot of new people coming into her life. And, she's in a new area. So, she had just moved. So she'll get to make new friends and neighbors, just out there doing her thing, what she does best, playing guitar and singing,
That's great. That's the perfect manifestation of the new moon for Pisces rising.
Maybe re-envision some old songs, play them on an acoustic guitar instead of the electric guitar or something.
Yeah.
Mercury retrograde has like an unplugged version or an unplugged, kind of uh I always notice that artists will do like remixes to their songs during the Mercury retrograde. Um,
Really?
yeah, like Demi Lovato put out a remix album during a Mercury retrograde where she made all of her songs rock songs. And
Oh,
yeah, I love seeing stuff like that. Or sometimes when we put out things during a Mercury retrograde, they aren't appreciated until later. Like a really great example of that is Weezer's Pinkerton, which when it
hmm.
came out, it was like critically panned. Like everyone hated it. And then like over time, that became like an emo classic. And now people love Pinkerton. So
Yeah,
it's, Mercury retrogrades, unless somebody has a Mercury retrograde, then they're going to tend to put things out during a Mercury retrograde. Like Charlie XCX has a Mercury retrograde in Leo, and so she tends to put out music during Mercury retrograde. But that makes sense for her. But
it does. And I
yeah,
think her next album is coming out during this retrograde, or maybe I'm wrong.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I I think I was looking at something the other day. You and I love to talk about mundane like art astrology, and we've talked about, and guys, let us know if you are would be super psyched for this, but William and I want to do an episode of his podcast where we just talk about different transits and the things that we were listening to and the television we were watching during that, because it's just they're always so on point. I love
Yes.
it. Like nothing is monotonous when with astrology.
It's
um
true.
and I was listening to the Hum record. So you prefer an astronaut the other day, and I was like looking at the chart of that, and it came out during a Mercury retrograde in Cancer. So I was like, oh,
That's
that
so
makes sense
perfect.
why I've been listening to this over and over again.
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
yeah, I think it's going to be. I've been making a little list. Guys, if you want to do this challenge with us, you get a composition book, write the transits and write what you're listening to, what you're watching, and watch how it like lines up. It's so cool. The day of the Venus Pluto opposition, I've been doing a rewatch of Weeds, and it was the episode where Zoe Deschanel is actually plays like the psycho ex-girlfriend of Andy, and she like
Yes.
stalks him, and I was like, oh, this is a
Classic.
I'm so happy nothing crazy happened today. It was just a great episode of Weeds.
Yeah, that was when it was at its best during that era. I remember
Oh
watching.
yeah. I love the agrestic years. It gets a little crazy once the tunnel in Mexico gets involved, but
Yeah, I still enjoyed it then. I watched,
yeah, I
I
watched all the
stuck
way
with
through.
it close to the end. I did stick with it.
The thing that alarmed me during this rewatch is when I originally watched the show, I was just like, oh, that's just normal people. And because I'm so used to having a crazy family and like I looked at and then like I'm like watching it now and I'm like, oh, this woman's a total narcissist.
Yeah,
And then I looked at what is it?
terrible mother.
Yeah, Mary Louise Parker. I looked at her chart and she has an exact degree Venus conjunction to my father and she reminds me so much of my father.
Interesting. Okay.
So maybe that's why it's so comforting. Guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here. And thank you, William, for being here. And I know you've had a big day. So I'm going to let you go. Everyone has, is there where can we follow you, William? Where can we get readings? What do you want to promote?
Yeah, if anyone wants to book a reading with me, you can go to my website, williamhollowayastrology.com. And yeah,
Nice.
that's what's going on.
Well, everyone, we'll be back soon with horoscopes. And everyone, take care and have a great evening. Thank you so much for being here. And let us know what's happening in your life in the comments below. Tell us. Tell us your dirty laundry. We want to hear it. Bye.
Yeah.